All right, guys. Well, we're here at Hammons Roofing headquarters. This is going to be our first podcast. Don't have a name yet, so if you have any ideas, throw them at me. I got a couple unique ones, maybe like Under the Wrappers or Beyond the Shingle. I don't know. So
those are both pretty clever.
Yeah. I've been thinking a little bit. But we're here with Brandon Phelps, candidate for State Representative of the 54th District of Missouri.
Correct.
How are you doing today, sir?
Very good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you for being here.
So this is the first one of these.
This is the first one. You're our first guest. This is going to be our pilot episode. So
Nice.
We're going to see how it goes. We kind of have a makeshift studio here. I kind of like it with the TV in the back, but if this goes well, we might vamp it up a little bit.
Yeah, this is awesome. I like this.
Yeah, it's our conference room, so we kind of just threw something together. But
And I feel honored that I'm number one.
you're number one. Yeah, that's great. So honored to have you. So what have you been up to today? It's pretty warm out there. What you got going on?
Yeah, so today we're actually laying sod. So you know that I own Sonic Lawn Care.
Mm-hmm.
You also know that when it's 100 degrees, that's not the ideal time to lay sod.
No.
But we're laying sod. We've got a big job that's a 2-day job. It's new construction. And that's the thing on new construction. When they're ready, when it's time to list that place, we've got to get it looking good. So we're laying sod, and 100-degree weather is not ideal. But we'll just keep the sprinklers going on it day and night. And
That's all you can do.
that's all you can do. And for anybody who's ever laid sod before, or had new sod put down at their house, they know that water better keep going nonstop.
Yeah, I've done some myself back in high school, and I've killed some grass.
Yeah.
I've killed some grass. That's why I probably don't do it anymore.
Too often people make the mistake of thinking, well, I watered it this morning and it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the water's got to go all day long. And when it's 100 degrees, it's just crazy. So so this is my break, being in here, doing this with you, and it's nice in here and air conditioned. It's my break. When I leave here, we're going to be right back after it.
Yep, same here. We got some roofs going. It's going to be pretty toasty out there, so I think we planned this right. Come in when it's 110 real feel out. So not too bad, but I know you've been busy. You got some projects even at my house coming up. So
Yeah.
I know you've been busy, been talking to Derek, and been having a lot going on. So it's great you're busy. And then also this time with the election and everything, I can't imagine you're just swamped right now.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing. And of course, when you sign up to run for political office, you sign yourself up for that. So I can't ever complain. And the two working together, listen, it's great if you've got, if your business is busy and you're getting a lot of phone calls and you've got a lot of work. There's days when that's exhausting, but as you know, you wouldn't trade that for anything. That's what you want. That's what you're working for. And tying it in with politics is, it's difficult at times, but it's also fun. And that was actually something that when I kicked off this campaign, it's been about 1.5 years ago now. Time flies. But I actually told people, I said, too often we don't know the people that are representing us. Mm-hmm. Too often we don't know our state senators and our state reps, and we just hear a name and we don't know them. And so I've taken pride in the fact that, we're part of the community. And when I say we, I'm speaking of me and the guys that work for me and my wife and my kids. And we have continued that throughout this campaign process, rather than, hiding in a basement and going dark, which happens lots of times.
Oh, yeah.
We just keep on trucking. My wife, Angie Phelps, Dr. Phelps. Mm-hmm. Most people know her as Dr. Phelps. She's got her busy days. We're doing the landscaping with Sonic Lawn Care. And at night we do a lot of our campaign stuff, and we've had different meet and greets. But that's been the thing. We just keep doing what we do. We're part of this community. We love this community. We love the business that we're in. And going to Jeff City and representing folks like us, normal, everyday people, that is the objective. Mm-hmm. The objective is to be one of us representing one of our values, or all of our values, and representing normal, everyday people right here in Johnson County. And lots of times politicians will tell you that, and it sounds cliche. Yeah. But I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that too, because we do a lot in the community with our business, and every event I've been to, every charity event, every auction, you've been there. I mean, every dinner, every banquet. I haven't been to one where you haven't been at. And that's been before your campaign, and that's gone to shows like, man, this guy is everywhere, like everywhere in the community. So I think that's great, even as long as I've known you. And starting back to when I first knew you, I think that was 2020.
2020.
When I roofed your house, and I think you got a referral for my dad, and he called in and I answered, and I'm like, well, my dad's out of it, but here I am. And you kind of saw I was starting out, and you put your trust in me and said, well, I got this project, and it's, not an easy one, but I want you to do it. It's like, oh man, this guy, he trusts me. And so I go to your house, and the complexity for me was, oh my gosh, this guy's landscaping is immaculate. What am I going to do? Turn this guy's roof off, protecting his plants. And you kind of told me, like, I take a lot of pride in my landscaping. When I do, this is what I do. Okay. So I had to really buckle down and focus on this job. And, I can't thank you enough for trusting me and, being a small business owner. And, you could have went with any company, any large one that's done, projects like this every day. But instead, you did choose me, and I will forever be grateful for that. And it will show a lot.
And that's great. And I appreciate you saying that. But quite frankly, and I've told people ever since then, we did discuss the landscaping, and you guys, you covered bushes up, so they wouldn't be damaged, and you made sure things were shielded. There was places you guys had sheets of plywood leaning up a certain way to shield certain bushes, and I remember telling you at the time that impressed me so much, but really, and I think you'll remember we discussed this. You showed up one night, and I was outside wandering around the landscape, and you said, "Is there something wrong?" And I said, "No." I said, "You guys are like crazy neat freaks. There's not any nails. There's nothing anywhere. You'd picked up everything, and of course, you were still grabbing some magnet or something out of your truck." And I said, "Yeah, I've been walking around this place for an hour. There's nothing to pick up." Yeah. And so I appreciated that. And actually, if you remember, I think that it was real hot like this about that time.
August, I think.
Yeah, it was just terribly hot. But, since then over the years, when people have asked me, about you or about a roof or whatever, I've always said, well, here's the thing. This wasn't one of those deals where they show up and do a little bit today and then leave and then come back in a day or two and do a little bit. I mean, they were up. They got it done in and out, which was a big deal, especially when, half of the side of your house is covered up with sheets or plywood or whatever. You were in or out, and you guys were super clean. And so I just appreciate it. And then obviously since then, your business has done very well, or it seems to. You're everywhere all the time. I see signs all the time. So congratulations there.
Appreciate it, sir. We've grown from people like you, putting your trust into us. And that's been what it takes, is just, doing things that we're not completely comfortable with or professional at. Is like, we have to start somewhere. Getting into the commercial field a lot, other guys around here in town have really trusted us with their projects and with people they know, and stuck their neck out for us and give us opportunity to where we can, go to new towns, new cities, new business owners, and be reputable and know what we're doing, and really grow in that aspect. And we've been hiring more people here and growing our knowledge and constantly growing and learning. So like that project, like, was one of the stars. Like you, Greg Hassler, he was one of the first ones to really trust me in this town. And from there, we just taken off. And most important thing, like, is how long it takes to grow a good name and how easy it can go away. So we really pride in, keeping that name up and keeping trust and honesty going. So, and what does that look like for you and your business kind of in this community? Because, you're at people's houses all the time, working with the community and their homes, businesses. That's huge for you, especially in a campaign, is growing trust. And what does that look like for you?
Well, and so I agree with you on a lot of what you just said. I've done things a little bit differently than what you have. You do a lot of the marketing stuff, mm-hmm. and you grew yourself quickly. And I will say, in a small town like this, and I know that you're doing work everywhere, but in a small town like this, even if you get extremely efficient at marketing, even if you're a master marketer, mm-hmm. if you're not protecting your name, if you're not standing by your word, it goes away quickly. You can build the largest business imaginable with marketing, but you can only sustain that business with reputation. Marketing will not sustain a business. It never has. Marketing builds businesses. And so for us, and I was telling you a little bit ago, I'm probably the least technically savvy person there is. And so there's things like this that I probably would have never thought to do or known how to do. But our business grew through word of mouth. We got out there and did the jobs that we could handle at first, and then started increasing manpower as we needed to. And, I just always feel like when we show up to a job site, and I know you're this way because we discussed this when you were at my house, roofing my house, but when you show up to a job site, you don't want to leave with any questions in your mind that the homeowner or the property owner may or may not be satisfied. Mm-hmm. You want to know that they are happy. You want, and you and I discussed that at length. And so I've always told the guys that work for me is there's one way to leave. And that is in your mind, 100%, you have to believe that it is as good as it can possibly be, that it looks as good as it can possibly be, that structurally, if you've built a retaining wall or whatever that may be, that everything is as good as it can possibly be. And if you leave with doubt, then you've done something wrong. And so lots of times we find ourselves maybe cleaning up things that were messes we never created, fixing or tweaking little things that weren't issues that had anything to do with our project. But we know when we leave, we just want everything right. And then there's a fine line there. Obviously, you have to know when to cut things off. But I just agree with you 100%. Like I say, we built it differently just because I didn't have necessarily the marketing tools or skills that you've got. But we both agree in this idea that you just do it right. Yeah. And that's how you'll sustain. Yeah. And we've just got work lined up for months now.
Yeah, that's the most important thing is, growing the word of mouth. That's the number one way to grow a business. My way is with the marketing and stuff is, okay, each job I go to, I can show that one person and maybe their friends and neighbors how well of a job I can do and how much I can care. But once we start capturing it on video and posting it, now we can let people from their couch watch. Oh, they care about the job. They're doing things this way. It's a little different. So just being able to recognize touching more audiences than just who's in front of you as well. But that's huge, and I think an important role in growing a business is just how many people can you touch without working more. It's like if you take one camera guy with you, he posts all the videos, it's like, okay, you have that homeowner you're working on physically, but now people can see you without being there, how you did that.
Well, and that's funny that you say that because we're jumping off of business now and getting back into this campaign thing, but on the campaign side of things, I believe that very much as well. And so I've done some things campaign-wise that I didn't do business-wise, but we've put more and more videos on our campaign Facebook page so that people can say, okay, if they don't know Brandon Phelps, they can get on there and see what Brandon Phelps is all about. And of course, there's a lot of pictures and a lot of information of endorsements and things like that. But, even the radio shows, I've been doing a radio show once a week here on KOKO in the mornings with Woody. And, some people are there listening to that. Lots of people may be listening to that, but we also video that. And then that goes on our Facebook page. And someone may be sitting at home at 10:30 at night and want the opportunity to see that. Yeah. And they can do it. And I'm a firm believer that when you're running for political office and you're asking for people to trust in you and to vote for you to represent them, you need to put in front of them as much as you possibly can the information about yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm asking for Dolan's vote. I want Dolan to trust me to go to Jefferson City and vote appropriately in a way that represents Dolan's views. But the only way Dolan can trust in me, if you're not seeing me on a regular basis and if you haven't had conversations, is to look up this information. Yeah. And so I put as much out there as we can, similar to what you guys are doing here. Obviously, it's worked for you all, and hopefully it's going to be working on our campaign.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's especially people, my age and below, is if they have a question, they're going to go to Facebook, to Google, and, look up Brandon Phelps. Who is this guy? I see all these signs, but who is he? What does he mean? How is he good for me? So I guess from that, like me, I'm not a politician by any means, and I'm very unfamiliar with a lot of it. So I guess for my kind of group of people that kind of fit in that don't really know what maybe a state representatives or what kind of purpose you're going for, what kind of impact you're going to have, maybe explain more layman's terms for people that aren't politicians and maybe don't want to vote, but explain why it's important for them to vote and what this whole journey is.
Well, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, for those people who do want to vote or decide, maybe after watching this, that they want to vote, it's important to vote now. Now the election that is coming up is in August 6th. That's actually next Tuesday.
It's a week from now.
That's a week from now. That's a week from today, where people will be able to go and vote. What they don't know is that this year, Missouri law has changed, which allows people to vote early, up to 2 weeks early, just by simply going into the courthouse. And they call this no excuse absentee voting. That seems complicated. What people need to know, and especially young people, is if you want to vote, just go vote. Do not be intimidated by voting. Do not think voting is difficult or tough or complicated. Simply go and vote. And if you don't do it on Election Day, if you want to do it before then, just go to the Johnson County Courthouse right downtown. When you walk in the doors, there are signs that say voting. Just follow the signs, show up with an ID, and get in there and vote. And here's the importance of voting. And we were taught this in school lots of times, but many of us in school maybe weren't necessarily paying attention at the time, right? But voting is your right, but it's also somewhat of your duty. And the reason I say that is because we are all affected by the things that we do and don't vote for. We're all, we all have the government that we elect. And unfortunately, lots of times, it's not the government we want, but it's the government we elected or we had an opportunity to elect, but didn't do so. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So the last election we had here, our municipal election back in the spring, we just had a 10-point something voter turnout. And so the people who won those seats, like on city council and in other positions, how do we know if those people truly were the right people or not? Now, they may be. They may be the folks that they may be the candidates that the constituency that the voters wanted. But when only 10% of the people turn out, how do we really know? And so it's important that folks turn out. Now, at the state level, when I'm running for a state rep in the 54th district, we don't want to complicate that either. But there are 163 districts in the state. Okay. So our House of Representatives, which is what a state rep is running for, there's 163 seats. If I win and I move on to Jeff City, I'm going to be one of 163. There's not near as many senators. There's 34 senators. Here is my point in this thing. If you're a voter, maybe you're someone who's voted many, many times in your life. Maybe you're someone who's only voted a few times or maybe never voted at all. If you want to have an effect on our government and the laws in our state, a state rep is so important. They have so many of them in the state, 163, because the idea is a state rep is supposed to be a member of this community. Whereas a senator covers multiple counties, this 54th district covers 3/4 of Johnson County. But the thing is, if you want to have your voice, if there are things that you care about, whether it's education, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's high taxes or low taxes, whether it has to do with any number of social issues, just go vote. Just go vote. And it is really not as difficult as people think. You walk right in and out, you're done in 5 minutes. But I would encourage everybody to do it. And then when you've done when you voted, you should feel free, or at least not intimidated, to contact the people who are your elected officials. Young people think that that's something that's far and away and can't be done. And it can be done. I've got people that stop me in Lowe's all the time, and they just tell me what they think about a variety of the issues. So I think that should, I guess what I'm saying is people should not only want to take a part in their government, but they should understand that we, the people, are the government, and we really need to, whether we want to or not, we need to. That's how we hold our government accountable to us.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great explanation. So that really dials in what that means. I guess touching on that for myself as a small business owner, my roofing, I'm a real estate investor. I'm a volunteer fireman here in the county. I have been for 9 years. Why should I vote for you?
Well, I can tell you, you could get me talking all day on this, Dolan. So
let's do it.
And I would tell you, I think there's just all kinds of reasons, but I'll start going through them. And first and foremost is this, what I've already touched on. Number one, I'm someone who I've lived and worked in this community in Warrensburg my whole adult life. If we've got someone that's going to represent our community, we need someone who lives here and has lived here a long time and is active in this community and understands the community. the best way that I can represent Dolan Hammons or anybody else is to actually know you and what you stand for. And so as you mentioned before, my wife Angie and I, we've been a part of about every type of community event there is for years and years and years and years. So first and foremost, the foundation of why a person should vote for Brandon Phelps is Brandon Phelps is a part of this community, has been a part of this community for a long time. And I love this community. And the other thing is sometimes we get so caught up in every single issue. But before you discuss the issues in politics, you have to know, can I trust this person? Can I trust this person to be who they say they are? Can I trust this person to do what they say they're going to do? Can I trust them to take my values that I care about to Jefferson City? Mm-hmm. And so I always tell people, how do you really know that? I mean, politicians will stand up there all day long and tell you what you want to hear. Exactly. But how do you really know that? And you know that based on a history. The longer a person's been around in a community, the more time you have to judge them on who they've been. And I've told people a lot also during the campaign process. As voters, and especially young voters, we have a tendency to think of the campaign season as a candidate coming to us and putting on their sales pitch, which is true. If I come to you, I'm going to put on my sales pitch and say, well, Dolan, I want your vote, and here's why. Mm-hmm. But what we forget is that the campaign season is also like a sneak peek or a preview of what that person is going to be like if we elect them, who they're going to be in Jefferson City. Mm-hmm. And so throughout this campaign process, and I actually kicked this off in January of 2023, we've been upbeat. We've been positive. We've been professional. We've been diplomatic. I've tried to explain to people that I think far too often you hear all these bad things about politics and all these bad things about government and all these bad things about, every issue that gets brought up. But I would tell you that we live in a great community. We live in an even better state. And we should all be proud, patriotic Americans. That's who I am. I mean, I am a proud, patriotic American. I love our state. I love this country. And that's why I'm running. I'm running because I think we need to protect all of those values that have made us this great state and this great country. And I believe, are there things wrong that we need to tweak a little bit? Yeah, but I think the doomsday scenario and the name calling and the negativity, that doesn't get us anywhere. Now, you mentioned being a small business owner. I'm a conservative. I'm running on the Republican ticket. But I would tell you first and foremost, before being a Republican or being badged with any particular brand, I would go back to this idea that I am a patriotic American. I am a conservative patriotic American. So I believe in limited government. I believe in low taxes. I believe that for folks like you and I that are business owners, the government needs to kind of stay out of our business and let us do our job. I think too often folks like you and I spend so much time cutting through red tape and dealing with regulations and filling out forms for this license and that permit that we're not doing the job that we love doing, which is also preventing us from keeping that economy booming. Okay.
So we're free employees of the government.
Yes, there you go. And so I really believe, and I'm always going to be someone that, as a legislator, I'm going to vote on things that keep the government out of our personal lives as much as possible. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be someone that's always going to be for lower taxes, fewer taxes. But I would also tell you there's some other key points, and you mentioned being a volunteer fireman. I've said for a long, long, long time that I believe we need to do more to support all of our first responders, police, fire, EMS, EMT, all this stuff. We need to support these folks. Number one, I think a lot of them aren't paid enough. Number two, I'm not certain that they always have the resources they need. And when it comes to law enforcement, I don't think they're shown the appreciation and respect that they should be given. And I just wonder, who's going to do those jobs 10 years from now if we don't get the pay scale right and if we don't show them the respect that they need and if we don't give them the tools to not just do the job, but to keep themselves safe? Yeah. All right. I'm a big education person, and I know I'm going to ramble all day, but you asked the question, so I'm answering, Dolan. Absolutely. But I'm a big education person. I think in Missouri, too often we get caught up in this education discussion, and there seems to be different sides. There's this side that says, well, the kids should have an easier life and more choices where they go to school, and should they be locked in any one particular school just based on where they live geographically. And that kind of pits students against teachers. And I actually believe that we can be a hybrid of many things in the state of Missouri. Here's how I feel. I feel that students probably deserve better than what they're getting in some places in this state. We're lucky here. You and I went to school here. Mm-hmm. Our schools here are good. Our teachers here are great. Some of my old high school teachers that I had right here in Warrensburg, they're still some of my closest friends. Throughout the state, though, there's some kids that are in some poor situations and they need choices. But that doesn't mean that the teachers are doing something wrong. Our state is full of great teachers, but they are underpaid, significantly underpaid, and they don't have the resources they need in the classroom. Most teachers will tell you that they're taking money out of their pocket, personal money, to buy supplies for the classroom. That's just absolutely crazy. That's just absolutely crazy if you ask me. And then I know some of the younger people that may be in your demographic may not totally follow me on this, but I also believe that we need to get back to a little bit more of the original basics of education: reading, writing, math, science, history. And in that history, I believe that we should show people all of the good, all of the bad, and everything in between that made this country the great country it is. And then I think a lot of this political stuff that goes on in our world anymore, as far as, standing for the pledge, the flag, or kneeling and all these things. I mean, those people have their rights to do what they want to do. But if people had a better understanding of what made this country the country that it is and how we got here, maybe their viewpoints would be a little different. So anyway, and I don't want to go all day long on this stuff, but I'm always going to be a supporter of small business, keeping government out of our lives as much as possible, while understanding we still need to keep people safe. And when I say small business, I mean small, medium-sized businesses. We just need to protect them from overregulation, overreach, and overtaxation. Same thing with our farmers. We've got a lot of farmers in the state of Missouri, and they're basically small business owners. They need the government to stay out of their business so they can do their job and make our economy turn. If our economy is turning the way that it should be, a lot of things get better in a hurry. Then I believe we need to stick up for law enforcement. We need to have a government that supports law and order. So if you're out jogging on the street or riding a bike or going to your local library, you can feel safe. And I believe we need to do everything that we can to make Missouri's education one of the very best education systems in the country. And so if people say, well, why should I vote for Brandon Phelps? Well, those are three biggies. And in any community, you've got to have law and order, you've got to have good education, and you've got to have a thriving economy.
Absolutely. What do you think the biggest issue in school systems is? What do you think would really help?
Yeah.
For me, I think we need to bring the Bible back into schools.
Well, that is, yeah. So now you're getting into a touchy one, because there's going to be a lot of people that say keep the Bible out. There's going to be a lot of people that say, bring the Bible back in, and there's going to be merit to both conversations. Mm-hmm. I think I think here's our problem in our schools. Here's our problem with a lot of things that I see is there is a lack of appropriate funding. And when I say this, notice I said appropriate funding, because as someone who believes in low taxes and limited government, I'm not someone who's going to say that we just need to throw more money at everything. That's not the point. Right. But education is not just throwing money out there. It is an investment. Now, the key is, where do we spend those invested dollars in education? When you continually have dollars not reaching the classroom, when you continually have teachers telling you they do not have the resources they need in the classroom, but you look sometimes at these school district offices that are just palaces, and you see all of the staff that's in the district office, I'm wondering if there can be some sort of reallocation. Reallocation of dollars, and so that the dollars that are affecting our kids in the classroom, that the tools make it to them, so that the teachers, when they show up, number one, are not taking money out of their pocket to buy chalk or glue or whatever it may be, but then whatever other type of, look what we're doing here today, whatever other type of tools and technology is necessary to most efficiently teach our kids, we need to teach them. We are teaching our kids now, and our teachers are doing a great job, but the key is, are we doing it efficiently and effectively. And I think that's maybe what we can improve, what we can improve by giving the tools that they need, giving those tools to them. When you get into Bible and some of those other things there, again, those are going to be some heated topics, and that's certainly a topic that this state and other states are going to need to have. I mean, the Bible needs to find its way in many more places where it used to be and no longer is. There's no question about that. And this idea of just kicking God and religion completely out of our lives and in certain things that we do during the day, I don't know how we've gotten to that. And that's a little bit
political correctness, maybe
so.
Yeah, I can't get rid of it in my life. I tried to do business in life without God, and He's told me really fast that no, you can't do it on your own, and I can't. So I have to put all my trust and faith into Him, and He will do works. I mean, seek first the kingdom of God, and we're here to please God and serve people. I think that's the biggest mission in life, and to take that away from kids. Even just like a history book, I mean, that's history right there in itself. To take that away is, I think it's huge to completely hide it. I think one of the biggest issues, in school systems, like you were saying, like the tools, that's great. My sister and brother-in-law, they're both teachers themselves, and yes, they have to provide a lot of tools out of their own pocket. And hearing their stories, and even back to when I was in school, the issues I've seen is, mostly the kids' home life. They have poor leadership from home, and that comes to school. And the teachers, they're not ready for that. They're not prepared for that. They're not trained for that. They don't have the tools to really focus on these kids that don't have the perfect home life. And they're overwhelmed, they're stressed, and they're not getting that need that they require at school. And so I think that really speaks a lot, for you in your election here. So whenever I first, started talking to you at your home, and we were having those long conversations about business, I really saw your leadership traits, and that's why I started just picking your brain. I'm like, man, this guy's a leader. And I've seen that go on through your business. Your guys, they've been out to my house. I've seen them around town. We've been working on the same jobs together. It's like, man, these guys, like, that doesn't just happen. These guys can work anywhere, but they're working for you. And how they talk to the homeowners, how they speak to me, how they treat the yard, it all speaks to your leadership. And I think that's what we really need, on our behalf in this district, our state, everywhere in politics, is a good leader that's going to really address the issues that maybe other people don't want to talk about, and really stand up for what's right and be able to take charge and lead, and be able to, just put that out there to everybody to where it might be uncomfortable, but what's right, and you're going to stand behind that and not let anybody or any political correctness tell you otherwise. I really admire you for that.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. And on that topic, I will say that, and like I said, I appreciate you saying that, but I have told the guys that work for me, I've told my daughters, part of being a leader, part of being a good father, part of being a good business owner and being a leader is listening. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is here, when, in this campaign running for state rep, so often when I tell people, when they say, well, what is the very, very, very first step in being a good state rep for the 54th District of Missouri? And I say, well, I don't want to oversimplify this, but the very first step is to listen. To listen, because the key word is representative. I cannot go to Jeff City and just solely intend to represent my values. Because the idea here is that I am a representative. But to represent you and to represent all the other voters, young and old, rich, poor, male, female, I have to have my ears open. And so we've had a lot of neat events here over the last month at my campaign headquarters. We actually had an event for teachers where they just came in, and I told them, it's a come and go as you want. I'm not going to give any speech. You tell me what your concerns are. We did the same thing for first responders. We did the same thing for small business owners. We did the same thing for military troops and their families and vets. And it's been really interesting that so many people have come in and they've aired out their thoughts and their concerns. And sometimes some of these folks have come in almost angry, like, I'm here to tell you what's really bothering me. And by the time they leave, half the time they're smiling and we're talking about different things. And they've said, we don't ever recall anybody running for public office that has done this. And I've said, that's because I'm running to be your state rep. Listen, I've got a good job. I love my business is doing well, and I love actually going out there even on these 100-degree days. I love that work. And going to Jeff, I love it. I mean, I get into it, and going to Jeff City, it's not like it pays well. And I want this position not because I need a new career. Matter of fact, we're going to keep on landscaping. I mean, that's not going to stop. Sonic Lawn Care is going to keep landscaping. I don't need a new career, and I'm not going down there because I want to be called a politician. Because quite frankly, I think we've all had our fill of politicians in recent years. I want to be Brandon Phelps. I want to be the husband of my wife and the father to my daughters and the owner of Sonic Lawn Care. And I want to be going to Jeff City to vote the way that the people in the 54th district want me to vote. It's pretty crystal clear in this district. Most people lean a certain way. It's a vast majority. And so it should be clear to me on all issues where I should vote. When there's a gray area and I don't know, that's when I'm going to apply my logic and my reasoning. Leadership is listening and drawing reasonable, logical, common sense conclusions from the information people have given you. That's how I plan to run the rest of this campaign, which is now just 6.5 days, really. But that's how I plan to represent us in Jefferson City. And a lot of my campaign ads have said, listen, we want to send someone to Jeff City who's going to be professional, someone who's going to be diplomatic, someone who's going to be strong. Because if we have issues we need to stand up for, you need someone who is strong and has some backbone and some tenacity, but also someone who can lead, bring people together and come to some sort of common consensus. And then most importantly, we do this with common sense, because Jeff City has not always had a lot of common sense, especially in recent years. So that's how I'm running. And I appreciate you bringing that up. And I appreciate you bringing up political correctness. I think political correctness and wokeness affect our society too much. It's in our education system too much. It's in everything. It's in every walk of life. And someone said to me one time, well, how do you plan to stand up to wokeness when you're in Jeff City? And that was another one of those answers where I said, well, this answer may seem too simple to you, and I'm sorry, because I don't consider myself a simpleton. But, wokeness is a tool, no different than a hammer or a wrench or anything else. That tool will continue to be used as long as it works. I'm going to stand up to wokeness. If someone throws some woke ideology at me that makes absolutely no sense to me and does not benefit the voters of the 54th district, I'll tell them that, and I'll stand up to that. And when they see their wokeness doesn't work on me, they'll resort to some other tool. That's my thoughts on that.
I like that. I like the honesty as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen that, a lot of what you're saying, and I can appreciate it. But even like in my house, where we have a project and it's maybe a unique one, building the retaining wall, and we have a large tree going through, and you kind of tell me, it's like, I don't really know what we're going to do here, but we're going to figure it out. Here's my ideas. Give me the okay or not. I said, yeah, you're creative. I see and I trust you. And you take off with it. And I also saw a lot that you would get your guys together and you would get their ideas. And so I like that. It's more so if people vote for you, they're not really voting for you. They're voting for them and their ideas, because you taken with me, my ideas in my house, and your guys, and you say, okay, let's build a plan and let's see what works. And let's, write it down. Let's think about it. Let's brainstorm and let's put it into action. And I've seen that, play out many times. And I've seen it even with your guys come out, even without you. It's like Brandon's here, but he's not. So that really, goes on to show just what an impact you've had on people. Even, last time you were at my house, it was pretty muddy out. And so you had to take the wheelbarrow and carry all these rocks, probably a good 100 yards to the backyard to where you were working at. I said, hey, I got a Ranger in the garage, and you're more than welcome to do it. You're like, nope, I like to work. I like to sweat. And I'm going to load these rocks up and feel good about it. And you did. I said, all right, I'm going to go sit in the AC.
I earned my Oreos that night. That's what I always say. I'm earning my Oreos.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Earn the Oreos. But I mean, that's the thing, too, is like you show your guys, you show me, your customer, that you're not afraid of work. You're not afraid to get your hands dirty. You're not just all talk, saying that, yeah, I'm going to do it. You're going to make a phone call and take off and let somebody else do the dirty work. Is you're there to show, you're there to get it done. and do it right. And if it doesn't go right, you're going to step back, say, what can I do better? And then put it into action. So I can really appreciate that. I've seen that for 4 years. That's why I've always made sure to stay close to these. Like, this is somebody I want to follow.
Well, I had a boss once, long time ago, an employer of mine that said, work smarter, not harder. And I just loved that. But then I had another boss one time he was telling people all the time, he was saying, well, you're trying to work smart. Why don't you just get down and work hard? Well, since then, I have told my guys something that I thoroughly believe in, and let's work harder and smarter. And so when we go to a job site, and of course, Derek, and Derek is like my right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
But number one, working smarter is taking in the knowledge from all the people around you, taking in all the information that you have before you and saying, okay, what is the most effective, efficient way to do this? We've got to do it right. We've got to get the right outcome. We've got to be safe. We've got to be efficient with our time. We've got to be efficient with the dollars being provided to us by whoever's paying for this project. And I'd be the first one to tell you that I'm usually not the smartest one on the job site. Usually people around me are smarter, but we take in all this information. But then I always want my guys to see, okay, we have found the smart way to do this, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to get out of the work. Sometimes there's machinery that makes the job easy. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's a dry, hard work surface. And sometimes, like at your house a few weeks ago, we were just sinking in that mud. But at the end of the day, I still want to instill this mentality in the guys that work for me and in my daughters that we're here to get it done. Yeah. We're not here to make anybody feel bad that it's 100 degrees. It's our choice. We signed up for this. We don't need to make people feel bad that it's muddy. We're here to get the job done. And I, quite frankly, if we get elected on August 6th and I go, there'll still be a general election in November, but if we make it through that and I go to Jeff City, at the end of the day, I'm going to say, let's listen to the voters of this district. Let's listen to all the ideas, good and bad and indifferent. Let's take in and generate a common consensus, and then go to Jeff City, not to be a politician, not to go to Jeff City and have a job, not to earn some kind of notoriety, because I think some of them think there's some notoriety that comes with it. No. Go get the job done. Just like today, we're laying sod. Do we want to lay sod when it's 100 degrees? Nope. But at the end of the day, we're going to get the job done. That's who someone's electing if they elect me. That's who someone does business with when they ask Sonic Lawn Care to show up, is we've got to get the job done. And I'm just a firm believer in that. And I think we need more of that in our schools. I think we need more of that in our society. I just think if everyone everywhere said, let's stop discussing all of the little tiny things that most people don't care about, because that happens a lot in politics. In politics, our politicians lots of times talk about things that, like, whoever brought that up? Let's talk about the things that matter to us and get it done.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've seen that with you. Is you're not changing anything about yourself for this election. You've done everything before this campaign, but you've put that all into this campaign of who you already were. And I know that if you don't get elected, you're not going to be any different. Nothing's going to change. You're going to go back to everything you're still doing to this day, to what you were doing before. It'll be the same. You're not being anybody special or different. Nope. For this election to get into office. You know what you have to offer, and you're putting it out there. And I think that's great. I think that it's important for people to see that you're just Brandon Phelps. And that's who you've been. That's who you always will be. And there's nothing more about it.
Yep. Well, and I appreciate that. And that's how I see it. Come next Tuesday. And like I say, there again, we're asking people to vote. Of course, I want people to vote. We need every person to turn out so we can stack those numbers up. But voting is good. I mean, we need it. Our community needs it. Our state needs it. Our country needs it. We need folks to turn out. So we're asking people to vote. And at the end of the day, if I move on to the general election in November, that's great. That's what I'm wanting to do, because I truly believe in my heart that I bring certain skills to this that will help us out. If I don't move on, if we're out, like you say, guess what? We've got a lot more sod to lay next week. We've got some stuff to do at your house. We've got jobs stacked up all the way into the fall, and we're going to just get after it and get it done.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, we're running out of time here. So what's one final message you can leave our viewers to?
One final message is this. As we've discussed many times, I'm Brandon Phelps. I am running to be our state rep in the 54th district. That's 3/4 of Johnson County for the most part. And I would like people to understand that Brandon Phelps is one of us. Brandon Phelps is one of you. And I am asking for this job so I can go to Jeff City, carrying the values of the folks that are here, and doing what I can through these leadership skills, through professionalism, through diplomacy, and with some strength and common sense, and get the job done for us. And I would tell you, you can trust me. I'm going to still be living here. I'm still going to be working here. And if I vote in a way that you don't like, you're going to see me in Lowe's or in the grocery store or out on the job site, and you just tell me. But you can trust me to do the job. And so I'm asking you between now and next Tuesday to get out and vote.
That's great. I love that. Well, that's it, guys. So thanks a lot for watching. Brandon Phelps, State Representative, 54th District. Go vote.